told myself, why wait? We took this shit worldwide, you only in 5 states. Came from the 4 corners with my 4 quarters. Showed them the style, then they stole on us. Times got wild, then they told on us. Dog, it was hard, but we had to keep it rolling. You ain't gotta ask, you know where to find me. I be in the back streets where it get grimy. It's just me and Mel, Rennie looking bride D. I be going hard till I'm in the 5 C's. Know the vibe.
Professor Melly Mel, the Hood Post, man. So who I'm here with today?
Swannyfly from Bloodstone Villain, ex-gang member. Hollered at the Postman, coming on the Postman show. Tell y'all a little bit about my history, how I grew up from Bloodstone Villain.
Man, I'm glad you put it in that context. So what was it like for Swannyfly? First of all, how did you get that name?
Oh, yeah, I used to, actually, I did a lot of interviews, but people never asked me how I got that name, right? I used to play football for Jefferson High. I used to be kind of fast, right? But I also liked the Pittsburgh Steelers. I also liked the Lynn Swan, right? As coming up, I had hands, right? I used to go up under, catch the ball. I had speed, you know, and niggas was like, man, we gonna start calling him Swannyfly, man. He looked like Lynn Swan going up there to get that ball. And that's how I became across that name. That's Swannyfly.
And man, and it's very fitting. But before we get started, we're gonna say a little prayer for them Steelers, man, right now, because they need all the prayer they can get.
Yeah, we sure do, man. We sure do.
Yeah, well, good. I like that name, man. I think it definitely fits your personality. Every time you come around my family and everything, and it's all love, it's pure love, and I'm glad to have you here with us today, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man. God bless, man.
So,
appreciate to be here, man.
At what year did you grab it? You know what I mean? That you just say, man, I gotta have this villain thing look right to me. You know?
Oh, the year, like, I turned villain in 1982, right? Like I said, I used to be from the Pueblos, right? Certain incident happened. Then I ended up starting kicking with the villains. I ended up turning Bloodstone Villain, and I wanted to be a part of some riding stuff, like, you know, just really coming out, like, really on some gang banging tip, you know what I'm saying? Even though I was banging with the Pueblos real tough, but a lot of my dudes from Pueblos had ended up going to jail, right? So I just started gravitating to the villain side. I ended up hanging out at Zabi's parking lot. Everybody know about Zabi's in our hood on 51st. I started hanging out with certain homies, and they was like, nigga, you might as well go and turn villain. So I ended up turning Five Dudes Bloodstone Villain.
Okay. So, I mean, you know, and then when you did see your dudes, how did they feel about it?
Oh, it wasn't no, because at the time, Pueblos from villain from Pueblos. We always was allied with that sex. But certain homies turned Pueblos, certain homies turned villain. So, you know, that was just the way of culture when we used to get along real tough with each other.
You know, and that's not unusual, because there was multiple dudes that claimed 2 sets or was from a set. That's not unusual. Sometimes people try to make something out of it, but it's really nothing. It's just about the culture, and it's about, you know, who you deal with and who you rock with. You know what I mean? At the time, and sometimes those things change. And when it changes, you got to make the change, the best adjustment for yourself. I appreciate you enlightening us on that. So, growing up, right, on which street? 52nd, 51st?
50. I actually grew up out there on 42nd and Ascot. Actually, as a kid, a lot of people didn't know that. You know, my moms and pops had moved around. You know, a lot of stuff moved from over there to the Pueblos over there. My pops used to hang over there at the gambling shacks on Central, so I started hanging out over there with him, and then I started coming up. Like I said, when all my partners went to jail from Pueblos, I intervened with the villains and started hanging out with the villains, and ended up turning Bloodstone Villain.
A lot of people don't know that Central was the corridor, was the mecca for blacks. You know, I remember Sir George. Remember Sir George? Everybody used to go get their jeans from Sir George. You know, he had stacks of them. Yeah. And then there was Sammy Green. Did you know Sammy Green?
Yeah, Sammy Green. I used to go, them Fang Burgers and everything.
Yeah, the Fang Burgers. Juicy Burgers was the name.
Yeah, 55th Reds. Yeah, Sammy Green had a hell of a hamburger stand, man. Came out that hamburger stand. Everybody used to eat from there. People from Compton, Long Beach, they used to come down there and get their food from out of Watch. Everybody. around off the west side, everybody used to go to Sammy Green's to eat, man.
So how would that be? Would that be like Sammy Green's was off limit? If you going to get food, we're going to get food. We ain't tripping, and we run into these other cats, or would it go down sometime?
Look, I would tell you, people just used to come. You know, sir, like, you know, people still do people from the 80s. You know what I'm saying? You know, a lot of Crips used to come through there and grab their burgers or send their broads through there to get their burgers. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in the world knew about Sammy Green. So they used to come and fluctuate and get their food and want to eat something. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, as far as that, it wasn't really no shooting or no problems back then that I can't remember. It probably was a couple of fights that dudes seen each other. But as far as that, it wasn't really nobody never got killed right there, you know. So that was a blessing. You know what I'm saying? Nothing really happened at Sammy Green, but, you know, people came there to eat. He had good food.
I had a cousin, right, a relative. His name was Lacey Brown. And him and his girl named Delia, they lost their life at a bud spot somewhere down there. But I always thought that he was from Billings. I wasn't for sure, but I knew he was from out of that section somewhere. His name was Lacey Brown. I don't know if you remember anything.
I don't think I remember that name, Lacey Brown. I don't know if I remember the cat or not. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's a sad situation. I'm sorry that happened to you. Your partner.
Yeah. It was, and it was during the '80s when things, because the '80s took the bang to a whole nother level based on the cocaine that was entered in the city, and people was able to get more volume, more guns, more. It just, escalated.
Yeah, the 80s took, like I say, everybody, like you had homies that started sets, right? From Bloods to Crip sets. But when you had the homies that my age and the little homies probably 3-4 years up under me, we brought the gang banging into the aspect of gang banging. As far as the drugs.
I put the bang in the gang.
You put the bang in the gang, basically.
So being you part of the '80s, what was that like, Swanny? If you could dial back in your mind and just envision, what was that? How harsh was that to even exist in that time right there?
Man, coming up in the '80s, being a Blood or whatever, you was a Crip. Bloods was really, we, like everybody always say, we get on these videos and we talk, we get on these podcasts and talk. Bloods was always outnumbered. So coming up in the 80s, being a Blood was kind of scary, but you had to have heart to become a Blood at that point. You had dudes back then went to juvenile hall, and some dudes didn't claim. Some dudes did. I just always remember the homies used to tell me, nigga, it's a lot of Crips in juvenile hall. When you go there, nigga, claim your hood. Claim the hood. I was a small dude, but I was banging from Villain, and I actually had to claim Villain. Like I said, I had about 6 fights, right? Probably 3-3 out the bunch. 1-3, lost 3. Claim my set. They actually, when I go to E&F dorm at Los Padrinos, all the Bloods over there on the east, we was in F dorm. So they was like, Swanny, come over here with us. This was all the Bloods. I said, I ain't going nowhere, homie. It is what it is. So I had to take the consequences and suffer that. You know what I'm saying? I had to line it up and fight. You know what I'm saying? My fighting skills weren't good, but I had enough to hold a motherfucker off of me. Period. That. But I never went nowhere. I done always been outnumbered. I used to always, I wish a homie would come up here. I wish we had a homie that I could meet from anywhere. He could be from Pyru or West Side Blood or East Side Blood, that I can just be with and be like, homie, we up against it. But coming up in the 80s was really hard for Bloods, man. It was really hard. And right now, as of the day, it's so many, the rappers got, a lot of Bloods into blood gangs now, because you got a lot of Bloods that rap now, so they influence, right? But a lot of these young Bloods don't know how hard it was coming up being a Blood. Like I say, if the Crips wasn't really, you got Crips sets warm with each other. The Crips sets weren't really warm with each other. The Bloods will see how hard it is that'll be in the Blood. Everybody says a lot of Bloods. I beg the difference. Bloods was getting deep as the rap game was going on, but what was the Crips doing? They was still counting numbers too. And I don't know why people say that. The Crips always gonna be deeper than Blood, no matter what, how you look at it or how far you look at it. That's just some real talk.
Man, but how does it make you feel as a Blood when you see these rappers who don't understand the significance and the things you had to endure to get to where you are in order to survive that 80s, and they just walk on and say, hey, Soulja Boy, I'm Lil Bow Wow, or some of the other guys that, you know, Lil Wayne and Baby, they just pick up the red rag, stick it in their pocket, and all of a sudden they bloods.
Yes, it's crazy because they really don't know the scenario of it. Like some of them, what people tell them when they go out of town, or people hook up with them and tell them, you know, this and that. It's just right. It's just so crazy, right? That the Crips don't be on Bloods like that. You know, sometimes in the little young era, they do whatever they have going on. But if they would have knew what it took, how many Bloods that died from out of L.A., South Central, Watson, Compton that died for banging this blood thing, this beat thing, and try to keep pushing this blood, like it's so different now that, and I stress to my homies that, and other homies that I see, man, it was really hard to be a blood back then, bro. We had to accomplish thing and had to push it, and we had to fight for what we believe in as coming up as being a blood.
Man, that's real talk right there. And you know, because I remember Chris Brown and Soulja Boy pulling up talking about they want to take a fade or whatever it was in order to prove their worthiness of being in it, but they had no idea that what it took to be a blood. I still don't think none of these guys, whether they're in Atlanta, New York, Texas, Oklahoma, wherever they may be, I still don't think they fully understand everything that you guys had to endure to get to where you at.
Yeah, we had to endure a lot, man. It was so times that, you know, even in jail or going to the LA County jail, and you know how you had the Crip sympathizers, you really didn't have blood sympathizers like that. And it was so frequently everybody wanted to be a Crip because of the Crip walk, the gangster hats that they had, the blue khakis, the blue flags and all that. And it was so dynamic that the Crip sets that kept going. But dudes were so scared to be Bloods back then. You just had the dudes that grew up in them community that say, fuck it, I'm here, I'm with the homies, I'm gonna be down with this, and we're gonna grow with this thing right here. But being a Blood back then, man, you had to have heart. You had to know what you was getting yourself into, because like I say, it was 1 to 15, probably more than that. But being a Blood, because every time I went to jail, I claimed. Every Crip that know me tell me that I fought, that I, you know, got cool with dudes. You know, I had enemies, you know what I'm saying, a lot of enemies. And as coming up being a Blood, it was just hard for me. Like I say, I didn't win every fight, but I fought and claimed my hood. Can't nobody never say I punked the gang in the penitentiary, in juvenile hall, or either on the streets. Because I was one of them niggas that did what I did for claiming Bloodstone Villain at that time.
With that said, we're going to lock the door. Lock it.
Perfect grind all the time, baby.
Yeah. Cali Finders, baby. Proof of grind all the time. Music money. Got a dollar sign. Hub City. I'm a street nigga, streets fuck with me. I'ma keep pushing products till the fans get me. It's guap off top, diamond Cartier. That nigga wall won't give a broke bitch the time of day. They see me climbing, they see me shining. That's hard work, proof of grinding. New money got me tipping in that 550. Ali, bad man, and I'm so pretty. I got that tech with me, that's my hater sprayer. Go big, grind now, nigga, play later. What can I say? I'm addicted to this paper stacking, and I don't talk about it, I just make it happen.